White House Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders is in Washington. Good morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you guys.
Let me begin with a quick yes or no. Will the president visit the FBI building and talk to the agents today or tomorrow?
I believe that it's very likely that takes place sometime in the next few days.
Can you tell me whether the Deputy Attorney General threatened to resign because he felt like he was being used in the search for an explanation for the firing?
I'm not aware of any conversation that took place about that. What I do know is that this was an action that the president took, that the president wanted to take, and frankly had been considering since November.
Sarah, let me ask you, you said specifically yesterday that it was the Deputy Attorney General's memo that left the president with, quote unquote, no choice but to fire Comey. Is the explanation different today?
Not at all. I think that the president, this was something, frankly, after Wednesday's testimony, he was very engaged on, and certainly I think had been pushed to the point where he was ready to make that decision. He had a conversation on Monday with the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General and asked them for their thoughts, their feedback. They laid out a lot of the reasons that you see reflected in that memo, but this was certainly something that the president had been, again, considering since he'd been elected back in November. There was a consistent erosion of confidence by the president in Director Comey's ability to do his job.
There's still questions about the explanation that the White House is giving. The Wall Street Journal is reporting this morning that the former Attorney General was receiving daily updates on the Russia investigation, and that furthermore, quote, Comey was concerned by information showing potential evidence of collusion. Is that why he was fired?
Not at all. Once again, I think we laid it out very clearly yesterday. And again, a lot of the process of this, the director took steps that basically went around the chain of command within the Department of Justice. His testimony last week was all over the place. They had to issue corrections. When you become a much bigger distraction than you are able to carry out your job, as Director Comey had been, then I think it's time for us to move forward and look for somebody that better fits that role.
So he was poor at communications. That's why he was fired.
That's not the only reason. But let's not forget that there was a near uprising after Comey from members of the FBI. This isn't just about the president losing confidence, but the rank and file members within the FBI had lost confidence in the director, as had a lot of
but you know that's being disputed. That's being disputed by CBS News.
Sides of the aisle.
Sarah, that's being disputed by CBS News in terms of the conversations they've had with the FBI. I've heard that from a number of people, both former agents and others, that there was not that significant dissension.
Well, we've heard from quite a few from our side as well. Again, this is something both Democrats and Republicans on both sides of the aisle have been questioning whether Director Comey should be in that job. I find it quite interesting that a lot of people that are attacking the president for the decision he made this week were the very people demanding this decision be made several months ago.
How do you convince the country that there is not a constitutional crisis coming up and that this had nothing to do with the Russian probe, of which the Attorney General has recused himself? You have to convince the country. That's the challenge you have.
Look, any investigation that was taking place on Monday is still taking place today. Nothing has changed in this process.
And the FBI director's request for more funds to carry out that investigation.
I'm not aware of any request for additional funds, and that's something you would have to ask the Department of Justice. But what I am aware of is that any investigation that was taking place has not stopped. And frankly, we're ready for those things to go forward and come to their full completion so that we can all move on, and we'll continue to see, because we're extremely confident that when this comes to conclusion, that everyone will continue to see what they've been seeing and saying for the last 11 months. There was no collusion between the president and Russia.
Then why not appoint a special prosecutor to make sure that everybody is satisfied that there was no collusion here? Take it away from any kind of partisan conflict and give a special prosecutor the authority to discover all the facts.
Because it's simply not necessary. You've got multiple groups already looking into this, the House committees, the Senate committees, the Deputy Attorney General through the FBI. They're already looking at this. I don't think that it's necessary to bring in another individual to take this on.
But they all come from politics. Why not have an independent counsel, independent prosecutor
who could handle this? They come from politics, but both sides. I mean, you've got House and Senate members that are both Democrats and Republicans looking at this.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.